Hey everyone, Carla here. Today we are going to look at Cayetano Santos Godinho. He was a serial killer from Argentina, born October 31, 1896, and died November 15, 1944. Cayetano was also known as El Petiso or Ajudo, which means the big-eared midget. In the early 20th century, he murdered for children and attempted to murder another 7 children and 7 counts of arson located in Buenos Aires. Cayetano was at the young age of 16. Cayetano was one of 8 boys. His mother and father, Fiore and Lucia, were Italians who hoped to improve their lives in Argentina. But they were abusive alcoholics. Cayetano's father contracted syphilis before Cayetano was born, which caused serious childhood health problems. Like many killers, Cayetano started in his childhood killing cats and birds and played with fire. In 1904, when he was only 7 years old, he beat 2-year-old Miguel de Pauli and threw him into a ditch. The children were taken to a police station after an officer saw what had happened. Both mothers were called and the children were picked up hours later. In the next year, 1905, he beat on a nary with a stone, and again a police officer saw what was happening and intervened. Cayetano was released from jail because of his young age. Again in 1906 he was at it again, only this time he managed to kill the child, 3-year-old Maria Rosa Face. But this time it was unnoticed and would be discovered years later after he confessed to the police. Cayetano explained, "I took a girl, she was about 3 years old. I took her to the wasteland on Rio de Janeiro Street. I tried to strangle her. Then I buried her alive in a ditch and I covered her with cans." Authorities went to the site after learning of this, but a 2-story stood there now. A missing persons report had been filed on March 29 of 1906 for a 3-year-old girl named Maria Rosa Face. She was never found. January 17, 1912, set fire to a warehouse. When he was arrested, told police, "I like to see firemen working. It's nice to see how they fall into the fire." On January 26, 1912, 13-year-old named Arturo Lorona was found dead in an abandoned house. Then just a month later, on March 7, he set fire to the dress of a 5-year-old named Reina Vainikoff, who succumbed to her injuries just a few days later. Cayetano was not finished yet. In September he set fire to a railway station. However, there was no extensive damage before the fire was extinguished. Then on November 8, 1912, he was arrested and charged with attempt murder for trying to choke 8-year-old Roberto Russo. He was released until his trial date. In the meantime, on November 16 of the same year, he assaulted another 3-year-old child named Carmen Gattoni. She suffered minor wounds, and again an officer saw what was happening and Cayetano ran off. Then on November 20, he kidnapped a 2-year-old Carolina Neoliner, who let out a cry that the neighbor heard and rescued her. Later that month he set fire to 2 large sheds, but they were quickly extinguished. Another 3-year-old named Gesualdo Giordano was playing outside his house on December 3 of the same year again. Cayetano offered to buy the boy some sweets to coax him to go with him. He gave him a few sweets and told him, "There is more sweets if you come with me to this country house, where they are inside." When they arrived, Cayetano threw him to the floor and unsuccessfully tried to choke him and thought about just hammering his head. He left the house and went looking for a nail and ran into the boy's father, who asked, "Have you seen my son?" Cayetano replied, "I don't know where he is." He then returned back to the house with nail in hand and hammered it into the side of the boy's skull, killing him, and hid the corpse. Just minutes later, the boy's body was found by his father. At 8 p.m., Cayetano went to the wake and touched the skull where he had pounded in the nail. Then at 5:30 in the morning on December 4, he was arrested and confessed to his crimes. This boy had a very busy year. On January 4 of the next year, 1913, he was sent to a reformatory. And while there, he tried to kill some of the other inmates. Medical reports declared him to be insane. So the judge discontinued the case and ordered him to stay in the reformatory. However, on November 12 of 1915 an appeal was approved and he was ordered to be moved to jail on November 20th. But of course that is not the end of the story. On March 28, 1923 he was transferred to Ushuaia Penitentiary. Throughout the year of 1933 he spent time in the hospital for all the beatings that he had suffered from the other inmates after he killed 2 of their pet cats. Then from 1935 he was always sick and there were never any visitors until his death on November 5, 1944 due to suspicious circumstances. Some say it was internal bleeding, and that is the story of Cayetano Santos Godino, serial killer of children by a child. Please take the time to like and subscribe, it sure would help me out, and I would appreciate it. Be safe, have a great day, see you next time, good night.